Welcome back to yet another episode in Madlux VFX. Today we have Aram Lakotia with us, sharing about his work, about his career path, and all his success mantras. I hope this podcast will be helpful for all of you who wants to get into animation industry. So let's jump into the podcast. So hi Aram, how are you?
Hey Manoj, yeah, I'm good. How are you, man?
Yeah, even I am good. So welcome to our podcast and let's start the questionnaire.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting
Yeah,
me.
so yeah, cool. So my first question is like a general question that I ask to every people who comes on my podcast,
Yeah.
and yeah, just a casual intro about yourself so that the audience will get to know whom we are going to see in this podcast.
Yeah, sure. That's a nice way to start. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
hello everyone. My name is Aram Lakotia, and I'm from India, and I'm working as a senior animator right now at Method Studios. I have been in the animation industry for around 12, 13 years now, and working in different studios in some CG features or VFX features, and little bit of gaming as well. So, yeah, that's about me. I've been doing animation for 12, 13 years.
Cool. So, like, as you all know, like, we are going through a tough crisis now, and in Canada, we have the second wave now, so
Yeah.
it's tough situation. So, can you please share your opinion about the current situation in the future animation industry?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, obviously, currently we both are in Canada, and we are actually in the same city, and we know the second wave is here, and of
Yeah.
Corona, and the cases are rising. So it has obviously impacted our animation industry. And initially, the VFX shoots were not happening, and all the TV and the VFX work stopped suddenly. But
Yeah.
now, with all the precautions, I think at least the shootings are resuming. So
Oh, that's good.
things are happening.
Mhm.
It's not that fast like before, but at least it is moving ahead, and slowly I feel the work is coming in to all
That's
the
good.
studios spread across the world. So that's
Yeah.
about the VFX industry, how it is impacted.
Yeah.
But I don't think the gaming and the feature animation, by feature animation, I mean the full CG industry,
Yeah.
movies like Hotel Transylvania or
Yeah.
Over the Moon, movies like that.
Yeah.
So I don't think they got impacted a lot by this, because those movies are not dependent on the plates and
Yeah.
live action
Understood.
shooting. So
Yeah.
it's just they just had to move to home, and they all are working from there. So yeah,
That's definitely a good time for them.
exactly. I mean, they can be close to the family as well, and they are working at their own time.
So yeah, that's like we will hope things will change soon, and
Yeah.
if the vaccine and all comes fast, means yeah, we will see a huge change and a lot of works will be coming.
Yeah, hope for the best, mate.
So like next question is like a basic software related question.
Yeah.
I know you are good with Maya, but recently we are hearing a lot of things about Blender and Unreal. There are a lot of I heard like some fellowship happening in Unreal. Unreal is a software where we can do visual effects as well as animation.
Yeah.
So I just want to know like which softwares you prefer, Maya, Blender, or Unreal, and can you give me some reasons for that?
Yeah. So I'll say to this answer, I think I will be more inclined towards Maya, because I've been using Maya since I started my career. So I've started using Maya 2006. Right now it's Maya 2020 or some new
Yeah.
version is available, I guess. So yeah.
Yeah.
So primarily I have been using Maya. It has a lot of animation friendly options. Not animation friendly, it has options for a lot of other departments as well. So
Yeah, I know.
it's like industry standards now in the VFX industry also, and in the CG industry also. And but there are other softwares like Blender which are coming out really good, and they are really catching up to the current situation. And
Mm-hmm.
I know a few studios which are using Blender for making some short films and some feature films. So it has become very animation friendly. And the best thing about Blender is it is free. So
Mm-hmm.
anyone can start using it anywhere, wherever they are, and there is no issue with the license and things like that attached
Yeah,
to it.
yeah,
So that is
yeah,
really good about Blender, and it has a lot of good options to be true.
yeah.
I've used it briefly, not
Mm-hmm.
much though. And
Mm-hmm.
for Unreal, I know Unreal is most usually in gaming right now, and obviously, as you mentioned earlier, it gives
Mm-hmm.
a real-time result to
Yeah.
you, which is
Mm.
very good actually. Really, really nice. Uh,
Yeah. That thing is
Personally,
not there in Maya.
uh, I mean,
The
not
real
as
time.
Unreal. In Maya,
Okay.
you get it, but then you're not getting a final product. You are just doing your
Uh,
animation play blast, but with the lights and
yeah.
everything, it takes a lot of time. But with Unreal,
Mm.
it's really easy to do. I'll say that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a big difference because I don't think Maya was made for that, but Unreal
Mm-hmm.
has
Yeah.
been developed for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So that is the big
Yeah.
difference I feel. And obviously with
Mm.
Unreal right now, it's really booming and a lot of
Yeah.
studios are using it for their pre-planning of their movies and uh, how to how they can incorporate Unreal into their pipeline.
Yeah.
Personally, I haven't
Yeah.
used it a lot, so I cannot say much about it, but that's what I feel about it. But yeah,
Mm.
to answer your question simply, I use Maya a lot.
Yeah. And which version of Maya like do you started?
2006 or 2007, I think, or Maya
Yeah.
7. Actually, it was called Maya 7, not 2007, Maya 7. Yeah,
Mm. It
long
was in
back.
2006, right? Yeah.
It was long back. Yeah.
I started using Maya in 2008, I guess.
Oh, yeah,
And it
nice.
like the software completely changed nowadays.
Yeah, I
I'm not
mean,
able to understand
the
anything.
software has developed a lot, and obviously there are a lot of other tools which are compatible with the software right now. So we take use of a
Mm.
lot of other tools, and with every studio has their own pipeline and they develop their own tools to go with Maya.
Yeah.
So it works really
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, I guess 3ds Max is not using any studios.
No,
Are you aware
3ds
of
Max
that?
is used. I know I'm aware of some studios, some gaming studios,
Oh,
some
okay.
TV series studios which use 3ds Max a lot, and obviously it's a very good software. And for gaming, I
Mm-hmm.
think it's a really good software to use, not for feature animation and for architectural
Mm.
design and all. I think
Yeah.
3ds Max is a really good option for them.
Yeah. Like in my last episode of podcast, I met Tanu and he was speaking about like there is a role known as creature animator.
Yeah,
And before that podcast, I was totally blank about these things because I was thinking animator is a person who do 3D animation,
yeah,
and for me animation is like all those 3D animated movies like Kung Fu Panda and all those movies. So recently I got to know that like there is a job role as a VFX animator also,
yeah.
and you works as a VFX animator. So can you give us a rough idea of like how animation department works or fits into a VFX pipeline?
Yeah, sure. Because I have worked in both the pipelines of a feature
Yeah.
film, TV, as well as
Mm.
VFX, which I'm working right now currently.
Yeah.
Obviously, so as a VFX animator or a creature animator, first of all, as a creature animator, you are basically animating a lot of creatures, animals, and mythical creatures and all. And
Mm-hmm.
as a CG animator, you are animating in full animation movies. So
Yeah.
movies like Hotel Transylvania, as I told you before,
Mm.
Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, or Pixar movies,
Yeah.
DreamWorks movies like that. So the how animation department fits in these different pipelines, it varies
Mm-hmm.
from studio to studio. But obviously,
Mm-hmm.
for a majorly, I can answer for the VFX part of
Mm-hmm.
the animation. So basically, we get some layouts. Layout is another department which does the camera, and
Mm-hmm.
which is before animation in the pipeline. And there is another department called Roto and Matchmove. So
Mm-hmm.
those artists they work they work on gathering all the play. Actually, in VFX we get the plates, live
Mm-hmm.
action shoots with the live action actors and all, and
Yeah.
we start, and then there is a LiDAR scan, and then the
Mm-hmm.
match move artists need to match the real world 3D space to
Mm-hmm.
and they have to
Yeah.
create, with the help of modeling artists, obviously, they create the 3D
Yeah.
space, and then the match move
Mm-hmm.
artist try to replicate the camera of the real world
Yeah.
with all the focal length and the
Mm-hmm.
depth of field and whatnot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so they do that, and then layout is the place where they combine everything and they
Mm-hmm.
put the CG characters in it.
Mm-hmm.
For example, there was a recent movie Witches, which we both worked on, and
Mm-hmm.
hopefully the audience has watched it. So in that, like I'll say, they will get the plates with the actual actors, and then we had to
Mm-hmm.
put the mouse in it. So layout will give us the mouse rig in it and a rough placement of that,
Okay.
and then it comes to us animation, and then
Mm-hmm.
we decide on the idea what will happen in that shot, and
Oh.
we discuss that with the director of the movie and our animation supervisors and all.
Oh, nice.
And depending on that, we will. And there are some shots you have obviously seen, like where some characters they interact with the humans, so they jump
Yeah.
on them or they are on their
Yeah.
hand or something like that. So
Yeah.
we need roto for that,
Mm-hmm.
and for the actual human characters, and then we put our animated characters and do the acting on top of that. For
Mm-hmm.
example, them in the hand or something like that, and then the actor can talk to the character in the hand. So
Mm-hmm.
animation in the VFX fits something like that, and then
Yeah.
there are processes like blocking, splining, polishing, and all, and then
Yeah.
with all this process and all these rounds of approvals and whatnot, it goes a lot, and lot goes in the department itself when the shot is being done. But then
Yeah.
once it is okay, and also in VFX, we really need to make sure like it works from all the angles. It's just not the
Mm-hmm.
camera, because
Oh.
in CG
Okay.
movies, you just look at the camera and it works. But
Yeah.
in VFX, we are actually looking at the camera, but then
Uh-huh.
as it is surrounded by the real people, so how the lighting will affect, or
Oh.
how,
Okay.
because these days the art creatures are sometimes they're wearing some armor or some kind of cloth or hair or
Yeah.
something like that. So
Yeah.
if they're not working properly in the 3D space,
Mm-hmm.
the simulation won't work. So as animators, we have to be really careful of that. So everything
Yeah.
works properly in the 3D space for that.
Cool.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah.
And after that, everything is working. The shot gets approved, and then we pass it to the lighting department. So, and there is a process how to export the animation as a Alembic cache or a Geo cache or something like that. And every studio has their own pipeline to do that. And
Yeah.
then it gets passed to the lighting department. And sometimes there are few kickbacks from the lighting, especially when things are not animated properly in the 360 camera. So lighting, we can do something at our end, but then lighting will catch us and tell us, okay, hey man, this is not working. So there is some problem. So we have to be really careful, like it works overall. So yeah, and after that we pass it to the lighting department, and our job is primarily done on that shot after that.
Yeah.
So this is how a VFX animators works with the other departments, and makes the magic of animation. Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing all this knowledge, because even I was not aware of all these things.
Oh, okay.
And the thing is, like, I noted, like, in visual effects movies, animators has to do animation in a realistic manner.
Yes.
And in 3D animation, more type of cartoonic kind of animation. I noticed like that.
Yeah. And
right, so
there are movies like the recent trailer of Tom and Jerry. So it has cartoony animation in a real life situation also.
Yeah,
so
I saw a lot of reviews on that. Like, I don't know what is the process of it. Is it like 2D adapted into 3D, or
no, it's
is the Tom and Jerry is 3D itself? I don't know.
I think they are 3D, and the character are same way. They are in the actual
live action.
They are put in the live action plate and the 3D area surrounding environments, and then they are animated based on that. Obviously, what you are saying is like the realistic versus the cartoony. I'll say it's more the style of animation. So one style can be very cartoony. Everything is moving, flopping here and there. And then realistic, for example, his Dark Materials kind of a TV series where the bear is moving or the other animals are moving, and they're very subtle and they have to show the weight, and it should look like a bear. Otherwise, the audience won't buy it. Things like that.
Yeah, new kind of filmmaking, I guess.
Yeah.
In one of my podcasts, Vignesh Natarajan was telling about these things like we should make use of 2D and 3D and make an animation movie because it's far more like impact it can create.
Yeah, these days, I mean, audience want to see all the movies, and I mean, there is market for everything. So obviously, so the studios, they need to feed the audience with all the content, whatever they can make available to the people.
Yeah, cool. So, when you started learning animation in your earlier days, what was the most toughest thing to learn as an animator? So, if somebody wants to start learning animation currently, what is the important thing they should concentrate more?
Oh, first of all, I'm still learning. Nobody stops learning. First of all,
of course.
But then, when you say learning, I assume when I was in school, learning animation in that sense, or a college learning animation. So I'll say the toughest thing back then was lack of resources for me. I was very new to the internet and everything, so I didn't know whom to approach, what to approach, and what is good, what is bad. Took me a lot of time to understand that because obviously I came from a very non-computer, non-internet kind of background. So adapting to that took me few years, frankly, to understand all that. And then lack of resources, first of all, I'll say right now there are so many resources. There are online schools.
Of course.
There are whatnot. There are
everything is
people.
In fingertips.
Yeah, YouTube. People are teaching one-on-one classes, and there are good schools available. If you are in any country, there are good colleges, good schools, good tutors available. So all that really helps right now if you're learning animation. And obviously, you need to observe things and start with the basics. Like you understand your rig and everything, then you try to do a walk cycle or a run cycle with that character. So you start understanding the character. Like that is the most basic thing, how a character walks. And then you do step by step. There are different actions of a character you can do as a student to evolve and understand your characters. Yeah.
I just want to know, is there a relevance of learning the basics of animations, like all those 12 principles of animation and all these things are there, right? Is it still relevant? When I was learning animation in my college, my teacher was really insisting me to learn these 12 principles of animation. And at that moment I was more keen on doing animation rather than learning. That was my stupidity actually. So I just want to know, is that thing relevant currently also?
It is relevant, and it will be relevant after 100 years. Because all the other things, how we do animation, what are the other things, there is some technology involved to it, and it will evolve with the period of time. For example, right now there is Unreal is coming, AI is coming. After 20 years, something else will come, new advancement will come, which should come. But the core of animation are those 12 principles. So you should have a mastery, or you at least not a mastery, because nobody is a master in anything, but then you should know it really well to make use of those in your animation, because you will learn anticipation or ease in or ease out, timing, spacing. You will understand all that as one principle. But then when you start doing a short, or you're doing your own short film or something like that, so your own personal animations or in a studio, you have to apply all those principles one after the other, and sometimes together. And you should know those really well, and then you can make something out of it. And also there are places where you have to break them. So in order to break them, first you should know them. If you don't know them, how can you break them? So that is also there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Is graph editor is that important for an animator, or is there any like tool or plugin for tweaking the graphs or making easy the final stage of animation? Yeah, so any insights on that?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, Graph Editors is a really good tool, and all the softwares, animation software comes with their own graph editors. It can differ a little bit, but the basic core of Graph Editor is there, the translates and the rotates and the scale. So personally, how I use Graph Editor, I'll say like in blocking a shot, I don't look at the Graph Editor that much when my keys are in stepped. And when I start blocking, when I start splining a shot, I won't worry that much about the graph, how it is looking, because my idea of doing animation is I try to see how my pose is looking in the camera and how my drawing is looking in the camera. I treat a pose as a drawing in the frame.
Yeah.
So how that drawing is actually looking in the camera. So for me, graph at that moment is not very relevant. I mean, you should be aware of like there are no weird jumps in the rotation. Otherwise, your things will gimbal and you will have weird rotations at the end. You should like those basic things you should be aware of. But while polishing, I rely on the graph editor because in polishing you can really clean your graphs. You can adjust the weight of your tangents and then see what kind of different results you can achieve by moving those graphs. So in polishing, I use graph a lot, and I actually try to clean my graph. Actually, like it's like a soothing exercise for me to clean the graph at the end of my shot. So I can do like if I'm working on dual monitor, on one monitor I'll put my camera view, and one monitor I will just put my graph editor, and I try to make my curves really nice. So they look really good in the camera. So my shot looks good in the camera. And I think your other question was like improvements in the graph, or
is there any plugin or tools that can ease our work?
There are plugins. I mean, first of all, there is Animbot that's made by a guy named Alan Camilo, I think. So yeah, those tools are really good, and they have few tools to tweak the graph editor. And there are a script called AutoCurves. I think there must be some other plugins as well, which I don't know, but they should be. You can use them. It's really good. It will save you a bit of time, but obviously at the end, you still have to tweak your graphs yourself to understand how things are moving and how you can make your shot look more beautiful. Because more you rely on the tools, I feel you're not controlling your animation yourself. If you tweak your graph yourself, at the end, you are aware what does what. So you have more control over your shot, and you can make it look howsoever you want it to be. So
So I have a continuity. I mean, I have a question with the continuity of the last question. Is like, I mean, everywhere internet now, we are hearing news about new tools coming from automation or machine learning. So what all are the new upgrades in future animation industry, like according to your knowledge?
Frankly, I'm not much aware of this, but I can say with artificial intelligence there are options opening up, like you can for example, you can use Unreal Engine and you can get your results in live. You don't have to wait for long for that. For example, this helps a lot in filmmakers to previs their movies, to visualize their movies before they send it to a studio to do it. So they can this is a very good tool for a director. So he can have control over his camera. He doesn't have to go anywhere to a set or anything. He have a control over the camera in the 3D space, and in any engine he can make use of that camera, and he can set up his own camera, his own angles with the own characters, and with the
Mm.
rough VFX creature or animal in it, and then later on when they are shooting it with the live actors, so they can compare and use those cameras, and they can compare, like if the main human is talking to a animal, so how the animal will look in the camera, how the human will look in the camera. So it helps
Mm.
them to pre-visualize things really well. So
Yeah.
automation in those sense is really helpful right now.
Yeah.
Currently, I can say that,
Yeah.
and obviously with things like you can do motion capture with your phone, or
Yeah. Because that is an integral part in animation, right?
yes,
Motion capture,
especially in gaming
animation.
animation, motion capture is
Yeah.
really good, and it gives you
Yeah.
very fast results which are needed in gaming.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
things like that are really helping and to improve. But frankly, beyond that, I'm not much aware of this. So
Mm.
yeah, this much is my
Yeah.
knowledge
Let's
on this.
see. Like the world is moving so fast, so
Yeah,
I hope things will change soon.
especially after this pandemic, how things will shape up. I mean, new things will emerge, new
Yeah.
ways of working will emerge.
Yeah.
So, like
Yeah.
before, nobody thought remote working will work, but for this whole year, since March, everywhere in the world, we all are at home
Mm.
and the work is still happening. So, everything
Yeah.
is possible basically. So, it's just a way to understand how things will be, and things will evolve for sure.
Mm.
Yeah.
We have to adapt to that.
I mean, constantly I've seen in my career, like after every 2, 3, 4 years, you have to learn new tools. There is something new coming in the market. So you have to adapt to
Yeah.
that. It's like how the 2D animators changed to 3D during the time of Toy Story,
Mm.
and little bit like in the
Mm.
early 90s, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
back then, those guys had to transform their work and then evolve their work from 2D to 3D. So things
Mm-hmm.
like that. Now, slowly we will also see that phase, and all of us, I mean, whether
Yeah.
it's a senior position, a supervisor, or it's an intern who is supposed to join right now in the industry, but
Mm-hmm.
then everyone has to evolve with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, like when I checked your LinkedIn profile, I saw some experiences from freelancing and all.
Mhm.
So, what's your experience you gained from doing all those freelance projects? Is it easy to do freelance project than working in a company? Just curious.
Uh, See, the freelance work is really helpful in actually it can give you good contacts. First of all, I feel
Mm.
like
Yeah.
personally it has given me a lot of good contacts. I have actually got
Mm.
the studio work based on my freelance work,
Oh,
so
nice.
it has helped me a lot. And in freelance, you might get to do a small commercial, or sometimes freelance work on a film or something. So you get variety of work. Obviously, you
Mm.
need software with you.
Mm.
So for me, I'll say I was using Maya a lot. So I obviously needed Maya and a
Mm-hmm.
good hardware to support it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So a good laptop or a PC you have, and Wacom or a mouse and good headphones, so things like that. So you should have that.
Mm.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
freelance really helps in making contacts really, and then you evolve. For example, you are working in a, let's say you are working in a VFX kind of thing in a studio,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
then you get a freelance of a Chinese animation. It's a different
Mm.
style of animation. I mean,
Yeah.
you work on it for a small time, but you can explore that, and you get to learn new stuff. So
Yeah.
it's always you're learning new things, and you're like increasing your horizon, and so
Variety
you
of
can do a lot of
experiences.
things. So yeah, freelance
Yeah.
really helps in that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So, and like, I'm damn sure, like, after this pandemic and all things, like, doors will be more open to like all those individual artists who works as freelancers currently,
Yeah, I
because
mean,
now, yeah,
I know few studios which are running totally on freelancers. Their
nice.
producers, their director, their supervisor, their artists, their interns, their accountants, their everyone is sitting different parts of the world, in different time zones, and they all are working together and as freelancers, and everything is happening very nicely. So after the pandemic, I feel, of course, it will help a lot to hire a freelancer sitting somewhere far away from here, and then they can continue to work. So
Yeah,
it
get the
really
work,
helps.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's all about the portfolio, I guess.
Obviously,
Right?
for that, you need to have a very good portfolio, and you should have the right contacts at the right time. In this industry,
Yeah.
contacts mean a lot. So,
Yeah.
first of all, your work should be really good, and second of all,
Mm-hmm.
you should know the recruiters, the supervisors, and you should have a good rapport with them. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
So
that
like,
is true for every industry, not our industry. It is good for all
yeah,
the
of course,
industry.
of course. Yeah, if you take visual effects industry, it is common for all the departments.
Yeah, obviously. Yeah.
So like, I just want to know some tips about like a lot of new guys have lots of doubts on creating a demo reel or show reel.
Hmm.
So any small tips on that?
If you are asking for new guys specifically, so I'll say put your best work in it. Your show
Mm-hmm.
reel can be 20 second, 30 second. That is okay.
Mm-hmm.
A recruiter or a supervisor doesn't want to see a 1 minute of not so good work. Then they want to see a 20 second of good work. So
Yeah.
if they see that, they will be really happy and impressed with your work, and then they can offer you a job, hopefully. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously, and do your best work. Don't do uh, don't put everything as I said. And
Mm-hmm.
any other tip for the people starting? Uh, I'll say do a lot of acting shots,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of
Yeah.
action shots. Try to use good rigs. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you do, they say, like everyone says, you can do good animation on a bad rig and it will look good. But then if you start a good rig and then you animate it good, obviously it will look much more better. So try to find a
Yes,
good
of
rig.
course.
There are a lot of free
Mm-hmm.
rigs available online, or there are a lot of
Yeah.
uh, mm, online schools which offer some
Mm-hmm.
rigs. Or there
Yeah.
is this guy Turong. He
Mm-hmm.
has a website, and on that he has a lot of rigs. Some are free rigs, some are paid rigs, some are animation like
Mm-hmm.
acting friendly rigs, some are very dragon or animal kind of a rig. So those are very creature kind of
Mm-hmm.
things. So yeah, stuff like that. So try to use those rigs and create animation. And obviously, as a starter, or as for everyone, not as starters or everyone, uh, you should get feedback on your reel, on your shots from different people. So
Mm-hmm.
feedback matters a
Oh,
lot.
yeah.
I mean, some few times I was doing some freelance at my home, and my mother gave me feedback. She doesn't understand animation at all, but she understands how a character moves, how a character
Yeah.
is doing some emotion. So she can give me feedback on that, and it's upon you how you take that feedback, how you think
Mm-hmm.
it's relevant to your shot, the situation of the character, it is not
Mm-hmm.
relevant, and then you improve based on that. I mean, listen to everyone and then choose wisely what is good, and then do that, and hopefully you will get a good shot out of it, and then put it in your demo reel and show your best work
Mm-hmm.
outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you share some websites or blogs or tools, or let's suppose books,
Yeah.
which all will be useful to anyone who wants to get into CG industry, especially animation?
For animation, I think the basic book which every animator should read and understand thoroughly is Animation Survival Kit by Richard
Richard Williams,
Williams.
right?
Yeah, that
Yeah.
is. I mean, you ask any animator around the world, and they will say about this book, because this book is really, really important, and it covers the basic
Mm.
things. And
Yeah.
then I think there is a book by Eric Goldberg called Timing for
Mm-hmm.
Animation, and
Mm-hmm.
there is another book for anatomy, uh,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't remember the name of the artist who wrote it.
We will add it in the description.
Yeah,
Definitely.
yeah, we can find it out, and then it's about anatomy. So understanding anatomy is really important, whether you're a 2D animator or a 3D animator or stop motion animator. I mean, at the end, it is still anatomy. So you need to understand how a hand moves, how a head moves, why a head will move so much, why it won't move to a certain degree. So things like that. So you should really understand that and how the bone structure is. And after that, some YouTube channels. I think you did your podcast with Dhanu, so his channel is really good. Creature Animation Workshop.
Creature Animation Workshop, yeah.
So obviously I follow that as well. So there is a lot of good student work which you get to see, and you get inspired by that. And then there is another channel from animator called Jean Denis Haas. Jean Denis Haas, I think, in French. So his short name is JD. We can put that in the description. But
of course, we'll add in the description.
He does some acting reviews. He gave feedback or stuff like that. So his channel I follow. And then there are schools like Anim School or Anim Sport or iAnimate. So all of them, they have their Vimeo channel, their YouTube channel. So anyone who wants to see good work, and they can see that. And the good thing about this is they post a work progression. So they post a video not for the final shot. They will post how they shot the reference, how they chose that reference, how they did the blocking, splining, polishing, final with the light and render and stuff. So you see the evolvement of a shot. So on Vimeo and on YouTube it's available. So those are really good to follow. Yeah.
I guess like we have a lot of resources, like we can follow all these things and become a better animator without I don't think like without degree I would not tell that, but we have a lot of resources in internet which was not there when you and me starts our career.
That time nothing was there. I mean, that time I didn't know how to use internet. I was not very good with internet at that time. So, and obviously
now like we have a lot of free tutorials at least.
Yes. There is Nomon Workshop. They post a lot of tutorials. I don't know for animation they post, but for other stuff they post a lot of tutorials.
Yeah, modeling and all. Yeah.
So there is that, and there is a school called Goblins and Les Goblins in France, Paris. So they post a lot of stuff, and you can refer to those. They are making some short films and stuff like that. So it's really good. All those.
Some final few tips for the new artist or animators, like new students who wants to become a better animator or better artist.
Sure. I think the basic tip for anyone in our industry, not animation, for anyone in the animation industry, other departments as well, is to observe the life. So once you observe, then you can incorporate that work, that observation in your work, basically. So observe how a dog is moving, how a cat is moving, how a human is reacting, how a plane is flying. So observe all the small things and put it in your mind bank. So you make, like, you have all those, and then you can use them whenever you need them. So this is really important. And you get the experience with time. You understand to observe, like how to look at a reference, how to break a reference. If you're looking at an animal reference, so how do you feel? How when the hand is putting, how the elbow will react, how the shoulder will react. So things like that. So understanding a reference like that. And obviously, you should be open for criticism. Many people, they do some work and then they are like, oh, we don't want to listen from other guys what they feel about my work is good and things like that. But it doesn't work like that in a production environment, because dealing with your supervisors and client and the movie director every day, we need to, I mean, almost every day we have dailies, so we have to show our work to someone who is above in the hierarchy. So you should be open for criticism. You should be ready to scrap your work if needed, just
Yeah.
redo stuff and things like that. So be honest what you are doing, your character performance, understand your character,
Mm.
why the
Mm.
character is reacting like that, why the animal is
Mm.
reacting like that, where is he
Mm.
coming from, where is he going.
Okay.
I mean, it's just not
Yeah.
that short. You are animating that particular moment, but in a film the
Mm.
character is coming from somewhere, and after that
Yeah.
moment he will go somewhere.
Mm.
So you have to base your animation based on that. So
Mm.
you need to be careful. So for students, they usually, as a end project, they make some short films or something like that at the end. So for
Mm.
those, I'll say, like, if you're animating a short, so aware of your surroundings and try to do your animation based on that. So don't overdo
Mm.
it, and try to use learn the animation principles, and then incorporate that in your shots and animate it accordingly and show it to a lot of people. I mean, some people will give you criticism just like that. Some people will give
Yeah.
you constructive criticism, which will help you
Mm.
in the long run. So
Yeah.
things like that. Yeah.
And we have the best medium right now, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
Like if you have a
Oh yeah,
good
really.
work, just post it there. You'll have a lot of criticism or advices.
Yeah, I mean, just put your shots in there. I mean, a random person will see your work. Maybe they will like your work. Maybe they won't like your work, but they will at least give you some feedback. And these
Yeah.
days, I have seen like many animators are ready to talk. I mean, initially when
Of
I
course.
started, I was very shy to talk to new people and in the industry, and not approaching people on the internet or things like that. But these days, things have changed a lot. You can just shoot up a mail to someone. Don't push it too hard, but casually you can say, hi, hello, I like your work, and then I'm doing something like that. Can you please look at my work and give me some tips or some feedback or anything? So things like that. Yeah.
We will add your LinkedIn link here. I mean, in the description,
Yeah.
so that anyone have any doubts to clarify, they can contact you regarding animation at least.
Yeah. Sure. Happy to help you.
Yeah, cool. So, I mean, it's almost 45 minutes, and thanks for this time, for sharing all your insights about your work, your career, and you are ready to help the new people who wants to get into this industry.
Definitely.
And I hope this podcast will help all those people. And finally, I just want to know like a few comments or suggestions at least about Madlux VFX.
Oh yeah, man. You're doing a very good
personal
job.
promotion.
You're doing a very good job. There are not many, how do you say, YouTube channels which are doing this and which are trying to make content for the community from different departments. And for example, you are working in some other department. You're not an animator yourself, but then you post your tutorials. Then you are interviewing some other animators or some other filmmakers or things like that. So obviously it helps to gather knowledge, and then you're spreading this knowledge free of cost to everyone. So obviously you're doing a very good job for the community and helping others. So it means a lot to everyone. I mean, whosoever sees some tutorial or learns something, it will help them in their career, and somewhere they will obviously credit you. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thanks, man. Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, so I guess, I mean, this podcast will be useful to everyone, and thank you so much, Aram, for sharing all those insights. So yeah, any final comments or anything like that?
I think, yeah, to sum it up, I'll just say, like, animate what you like, observe things, be true, and try out different things. I mean, don't be shy to try out a different timing or a different animal. At first, you might not be able to do it. It's always, I mean, you're never a master in something. So when a baby is born, it takes time for him to walk, right? So it takes time for you to learn things. You will fall down, and then you will again do it, and then you will slowly become a master in it. and it will become your
Yeah.
second nature. So stuff like that. So obviously
Yeah.
things like that will help a lot. So keep animating and keep looking at things and keep doing what you're doing. That will help a lot.
Cool.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for joining with us, and I hope I guess this will be useful. Bye bye.
Bye bye guys.